A lot of people out there think that they are professionals, and they probably don't really have what it takes to really even claim that. I think a lot of people consider a professional, they think about it, professional athletes, professionals at, these sports and things that people watch. And you always know when somebody's better because, hey, they're on the team. In real estate and finance, it doesn't always work that way because typically there's not the professional, Seattle Seahawk real estate team. Although if there was, that'd be pretty sweet. I would love it. Ian Bell joins us now. Ian, welcome back.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. You have this professionalism in your one area, right? I mean, you really just work with buyers, and it's unique in that I just don't think a lot of companies do that.
No, they don't. It's a niche market. There's probably only, I think, 4 in the whole Puget Sound area that only work with home buyers.
And so you end up seeing a lot more when you're only working on that with buyers. You end up seeing a lot more where you get, I would say, more practice in order to really achieve the experience that you want for your clients.
Certainly, yes, especially with people moving in from out of the area. They're all going through the same experience as you like. They think they want to live in Seattle, but could end up living anywhere in the area.
And we talked a little bit before is it's not only the part of the area they want to live in, but, you start looking at houses versus condos. And, we see this in the mortgage business a lot too, but people want to they want to buy a condo. And, you're really working to ask them the right questions. What are those biggest questions that you feel somebody needs to be asking before they maybe go buy a condo? I mean, in any city.
I think the first one is, are you ready for a condo? It's a major life switch, trying to downsize into 1,200 or 1,500 square feet, especially coming from a 3,000 square foot home. It's, you have to be a lot more organized with your stuff. You have to have a cathartic cleanup. It's a physical cleanup as well as an emotional cleanup. And you've just got to get used to living in a lot smaller space.
And when people have decided to go ahead and do this, it's that. And I mean, I know when I had my condo, it's also dealing with your neighbors and not just not liking them, but then you have to go to these, the HOA meetings with them, and that can be a pretty dynamic group.
Certainly is. You want to do a lot of background checking before you buy your condo.
Check out all the people who live there, and you can Facebook them.
We sort of say that picking the condo is the easy part. Looking at a condo and saying, this is nice, I can see myself living here. That's probably 20% of the business you have to do. The rest is all the back end, checking out the finances, the state of the building, what's going up around there, any restrictions on the buildings.
There's a lot of buildings that appear to be great on the outside when you get into those guts, and not even physically. But, you had talked about like rental restrictions if somebody wants to buy and potentially move.
Yep, that's certainly a problem. 2 sorts of buyers want to rent. Investment people want to rent just to buy, invest in a condo and rent it out. They are getting more and more restricted in certainly the buildings in Seattle and the east side. And you're right, people that are moving here, what are you going to do in 5 years' time? You don't want to move into the condo and then suddenly say, oh, my grandchildren in California and I want to go there. I don't want to sell my condo. I want to rent it out. And that little paragraph in the HOA restrictions said, I'm sorry, there's a limit of 3 rentals in this building and there's a waiting list of 10. You're into a forced sale situation.
And so you can really find yourself where you own that condo, but there's a whole bunch of rules and whatnot that have to go into the managing of that condo that you become subject to.
Yep, the condo owns you then.
That's what a deal. That sounds like a great idea. Let's go get owned by a condo. You mentioned lifestyle, pets. I mean that.
Mm-hmm. You'd love to move there with little Fido and or maybe 2 dogs or a cat. And on condo restrictions, it's not uncommon to normally just see no pets at all. Only cats. We've seen that. Only dogs under 15 pounds. 1 dog, no cat, no rats, no hamsters, no goldfish, you're pretty safe with goldfish.
I bet you could sneak a goldfish in and nobody would notice anyways, throw it in that bowl. I think you'd be okay, get away with that.
That's right. But I would say the majority of condos have pet restrictions very few have zero pet restrictions.
So when people go into this, I mean, I think that you kind of hit it on the head a second ago. It is a lifestyle that you're buying into, and it's different. You don't really own everything about that.
No, it's your worst fear. It's true democracy. Everybody has an equal vote, and if 51% of the people say no pets, it's no pets. It's you live by the democracy.
What are some other things right now that people need to really be thinking about? I mean, if they're going to go in and potentially buy a condo.
I think first off, make sure it's a condo, and the difference between a co-op. When people look at it online, it's not readily pointed out. It just comes under condo. That brings in some financing problems. I'm sure you know. To finance,
there's like one bank in Seattle that does co-ops. But if you go to New York, everything's a co-op, so it's a very different story.
Exactly. So, a slightly different structure of ownership. One's like owning a share in a company and you get the right to live in the unit. With a condo, you own the actual unit and a joint share of the rest of the common areas. But financing is the main thing. So like you said, most people will finance a condo. Very few people will finance a co-op.
And so you end up in this predicament because a lot of people, when they're looking to buy a house, certainly are worried about finances. I mean, and so you end up trying to figure out how to finance it. You have your pre-approval letter. You think you're going to be okay. And now all of a sudden, maybe this building can't be financed in the way you hoped.
Yep, that's the second problem, which is not readily apparent to the public. There are many things that happen in a building that could actually preclude anybody financing it. There are several buildings, certainly downtown Seattle, that have ongoing litigation with the developers. And as soon as a lender sees that litigation in the Homeowners Association, they back away and just say, no, we're not going to finance it. So even though you're pre-approved, you love the condo, Fido can come and live there, your goldfish can come and live there, sorry, nobody will give you a loan on it.
So now you end up being a cash buyer, and I would think that down the road you're starting to hamper your resale ability. Now you might not be able to rent it or sell it.
Exactly, because a lot of these litigations, they're so long-term. They're an example of one building where we're sort of with a client at the moment. We find out there's litigation on the siding and windows. They've put in the litigation suit, and the trial date is 2 years and 2 months away. So before even anything gets fixed, before you even think you can buy that condo, you're 2 years down the line.
And how can people avoid, I mean, litigation is a big thing, and I know there was, the siding issues, and every time you see one of these big condo buildings essentially wrapped in plastic, that's typically what they're going through. Mm-hmm. How can somebody go about making sure or trying to make sure that this isn't going to happen to their purchase?
There are a couple of things that happen in a building. Normally, there's two things that have got to happen. You're supposed to have a professional reserve study done, which will go through the building and make sure it's adequately financed by the Homeowners Association and the dues they're collecting, so that they've got enough money to keep it maintained, and any of the regular maintenance items that come up over the life of the building, it's actually funded for that. The second thing you're looking at is in what's called a condo resale certificate. You just want to make sure that there are no problems. And most of the newer buildings, they have a professional architect's firm come through within the first 7 years of building. And within that 7 years, they're supposed to give the developer a developer's report of what they found wrong. And hopefully the developer is a professional also.
They probably were about 5 years ago. Now they're completely out of business. And I think that's another story.
That's another story. So then that's when the litigation starts. The first thing the Homeowners Association does is put a blanket litigation letter in there and hire a set of attorneys. And then that just puts up a red flag to anybody financing
it. And when people have these red flags, it kind of comes in on that buying side, as we talked about on the selling side. What we find also have a big red flag that people don't think about when they're trying to buy a condo is homeowners dues. Because first of all, they're not in most mortgage calculators. So people go in and they punch in their numbers and they're not thinking about homeowners dues, or they think they're going to be a couple hundred. And then sometimes because of these big assessments, they're 400 or 500 or 700. And that hampers some of our pre-approvals. They think, oh, we'll go buy this. I'm approved for X amount, but they don't realize those homeowners dues are as maybe as expensive as they are, or they don't realize what's covered in them.
That's true. The one thing that's pretty much true is homeowners association dues never go down.
Yes.
As the building gets older, the maintenance gets more stuff starts to happen that you need to fix. You can try and protect yourself against special assessments, like I say, by having that professional architectural review. However, there is nothing to say special assessments won't be due. And you've just got to be careful that the other side of that is you want to make sure that the other people in the building can actually afford the special assessments too. Because it's great if you say, okay, there's a special assessment coming of $10,000 on my building. I'm good with that. But if half your neighbors in the homeowners association aren't, then you can be stuck with a lot more.
And so how does that, what happens then? I mean, if people can't pay,
then they get stuck with the property. And you'll see that a lot in a lot of the condos that you can look at online. There are some on, I'm sure as Sam knows, like on Lake Washington, on the sort of west coast of Lake Washington. Their homeowners dues, they're over $1,100, $1,200 a month for what you would say is a regular condo. They're trying to be sold at, $300,000 or $400,000. Can't move them because the homeowner dues are so high.
Well, and I mean, that's almost $200,000 financed now.
Exactly. So you just get a complete sort of imbalance of homeowners dues compared to what the capital value of the condo is worth.
Ian, we have just about a minute and a half left before we have to go to break. When people are looking for those condos, though, there's a lot of those amenities too. People go and they see these gyms, they see these pretty elaborate spaces sometimes. How do you recommend people as buyers work that into their equation?
I think that's a lifestyle choice. Some people want all the amenities in there. They fly in, they use it as maybe a business condo that they stay at, and they want all those amenities there, and that's a lifestyle choice. When I'm advising my clients, I'm always looking at it as an investment choice. Again, in general, salaries are going up, costs are going up, so that concierge you have, that's going to go up. You want it 24 hours?
I would love to know how many concierges from 4 or 5 years ago, those buildings still have concierges. I have to believe that number has gone down.
Well, some of the larger buildings still have. They've cut back from what was a 24-hour concierge service to basically daylight and early evening and then skeleton staff at night.
They'll call you a cab.
They will. But, pools are notoriously expensive to maintain a pool. And just out of experience, when I'm going around showing these condos, there's not many people in the pools. There's not many people in the gyms. There's not many people in the conference rooms and the business offices they have. I think the gym is more of a social thing. And I think more people want to go out to a gym and meet somebody, then go shopping after or go for a coffee or something like that, than to sort of keep you constrained into the condo.
Eventually, you never leave your building. And I remember when, we do have to go to break, but I remember when they built the, 2200? That was the whole thing. You'll never have to leave the building. And I remember thinking, oh, that sounds great. I will literally never leave one block of Seattle. It just doesn't sound great. I don't know. I mean, I like my bubble, but I don't like it that small. Hey, Ian, thanks so much for joining us again. That's Ian Bell, president with First Exclusive Inc. Real Estate. When we come back, a lot of people do think a lot about the information they need to try to make that right decision, and finding the professionals who are out there who can help them make those important decisions and find all that information. We're going to hit on that a lot coming up here in the next few minutes. My name is Ben Brashen. That was Ian Bell. You're listening to Brashenomics.